Very good morning to all of you present here. And at the outset, I take this opportunity to thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to address you on what I thought was a rather important topic, research topic. I am starting initially with this concept of the living labs. So I want all researchers, students, people interested, especially in smart city projects, to go to Google today and type living labs. And you would find one of the best living labs in the world is located at Copenhagen in Denmark. So we are very fortunate that our Prime Minister Modi-ji visited Denmark, and under the Indo-Denmark agreement, today, we at Pondicherry are very privileged to have this type of a collaboration with the Danish Research Foundation, who are establishing this living lab at Puducherry. So hopefully next year, I would be able to take a couple of you students to Puducherry, and thanks to the organizers here, the HOD and Secretary and your Chairman, we should be in a position to offer some internships to all of you, because what is really very compelling for us to look at living labs is that great opportunity which you have. Living labs gives you the scope for innovation. All of you young students have a lot of research, students have a lot of good ideas. Can we implement that in a smart city? The living lab is an environment which is really meant for innovation. That is one side. And then today we have this great opportunity of youngsters like you having startups. So the startup people also get an opportunity to try out a lot of these type of things in the living lab. So that's why I took it up before I really go to my main lecture, which I would be talking about on the smart cities and how the 5G would play a big role in that. Of course, my earlier speakers have already exhausted a lot of things on smart cities, so I'm going to introduce you to two new areas, a new research lab, where again, now that Vignan has started a very good IoT laboratory, I find a lot of you can pursue research as well as look at some of the very outstanding contributions which are being made by this research laboratory located in Grenoble. I want all of you to look at Grenoble, which is in France. And we at in Government of Puducherry are very fortunate to tell you that Government of Puducherry is getting funding to the tune of nearly 500 crores from Government of France under the Smart City initiative. Our total budget is about 1650 crores. Okay, and we look at this great opportunity of interfacing with this wonderful lab which is located at Grenoble, called the Leti Labs, okay, and Sensinac will be the sensors with which all this are going to take place in the IoT world, okay. So that is what I would be basically presenting in the second half of my lecture, but then I would now start with the living labs. Okay. This is the Innovation Center. If some of you plan to visit Denmark, please make it. Today, Copenhagen is identified as one of the best smart cities in the world. Okay? And some of the best innovation things are happening here. And so this smart city development which we see here in India, Denmark is associated with Goa, Nagpur, Udaipur, Kakinada, and Erode. Okay? But then they took this initiative after Prime Minister visited to first do it for Puducherry. So we are getting this entire funding. So I thought this is right on my anvil. So I thought I'd get an opportunity to talk to you about it. Okay? And this is very important that for us is basically being done with the public-private civic partnership. And here, this is happening here. Okay. So you find the various stakeholders and who would co-create new products, and where you do it in real-life environments, the virtual networks, and when to do this in a multi-contextual sphere.
Sir, can you move this side?
Oh, okay. So I think I better go downstairs. It will be more comfortable.
You can stand here, sir. You can stand.
Okay, fine. Right. So this would give you a vivid description here, and what we have here is the vivid testbed for the technologies, innovation system and organization which facilitates networking activity, and an approach for early user integration within the innovation processes. Because what is very important for young students like you, especially the researchers, all of you have got a lot of innovative ideas. Okay? Now, you have a smart city established. How do you experiment with that? How do you come out with new ideas? I would also like all of you to look into, in Google, go and look at a new area called design thinking. This is something which we are incorporating for your Andhra Pradesh higher education. I'm a member of the Andhra Pradesh Higher Education Council, and I'm very happy to tell you one of the subjects we are introducing for you, the syllabi, is design thinking for innovation. Go to Google and type design thinking, and you could see a lot of newer ideas coming in there. Okay? Please use that, okay? And you could see how we can bring in a lot more innovation, as well as I said, the startups with which a lot of youngsters are now trying to get in. Here then is a great forum for you to experiment those ideas in the living lab. Something. Yeah. So this is the organization which supports the future-proof transition here, because today the street lighting in smart cities are all going towards LED. Okay, and one of the very elegant methods with which we would like to really capitalize on is what yesterday our director C. Sandra Kumar sir was telling you. Okay, and you find that the control and guidance center would be a great place for us to control all the LED lightings, and you could control the intensity, you could control where exactly you want the lighting to be there, where you want it switched off. It's a great opportunity, especially. And then you could interface that with a lot of newer ideas which you're getting in IoT also. Okay, so that's what we have. Yeah. So the pilot size where these people have done that, and you could see the demonstration zones and what is it that they are going to have. And here we find Technical University of Denmark is participating in this program. So you will find a lot of countries very open to this academic industry interface. Okay, and that is where we are. Yesterday we are very happy to announce that C. is so keen to work with Vignan University. Okay, thanks to this interface, and I'm sure a lot of you will be able to go on for some internships here, and I hope that will take it. And this particular doll benefit stakeholders, and you find a lot of things happening here. Especially, please remember, we may not like that name very much, but what emanates is basically for smart cities is from the municipalities. Okay, so everybody today is talking about what are the innovative things you could do in the municipalities. Here then is a great opportunity. Okay, so we would like some of you students to look at that very carefully, and especially from the market requirement, compare guidance, the manufacturers and suppliers here on this particular thing. So under this Indo-Danish Urban Living Lab is where we are trying to have this particular thing taken up, and they are going to do it a little later for some other cities also, but then we at Pondicherry have been privileged to have this great opportunity coming up. So fine. And what is it that we are trying to do? Create a physical framework for the Danish-Indian cooperation to development innovation based on a proven interest and demand in the cities. And very importantly, one should remember that if you have a living lab, can you prevent somebody from Denmark to come and experiment? Yes, very important. So we not only have Indian companies, Indian institutions, we also have a lot of SMEs, a lot of Danish researchers to come and experiment their ideas in the living lab. Okay, so that mutually it would be beneficial for Indian cities, okay, to take on. So if you look at some of the best sort of engagements which Copenhagen Smart City is right now involved, and the way they have brought out their sensors and all that, which have sort of proven to a great extent. And I feel that that would be very useful for all of us to also have a look at it. And then with this background, we also look at project, can you go back? The project is based on the UN Sustainable Development Goal, aiming at creating economic growth for cities through sustainable urbanization. I want you to concentrate on that word sustainability. I'll come back in the latter half of my lecture, because sustainability is a very important point as far as the smart cities are concerned. Okay? And especially for a city like Puducherry, where it has got a lot of floating population. Okay, so you design a city for 5,000 people, and suddenly you find 3,000 more people coming into that city. Can it accommodate? Can it sustain from different aspects? Is what we look at it. We'll sort of reiterate that point a little later. Okay, and this is just to give you an idea of the living lab. I will get an exploded view next. Okay. So potential areas of where you would like to really look at, you are looking at, just now we are mentioning about lighting, then energy efficient solutions. Here, of course, today we would exploit the renewable solar panel, renewable energy based on that. And then Pondicherry is very famous for smart tourism. So that is one area which we are looking at. Smart parking. Yeah, these are wonderful projects which we want youngsters like you to really latch on and catch up. I'm very happy to say you would also be able to look at some of the newer ideas which are coming up. The latter half of my lecture will again concentrate on the parking challenge, and I would want young researchers now to exploit UWB. Yesterday we had this disaster management professor talking about it. We were suggesting UWB as an excellent tool to be exploited in parking applications. Okay, and then of course we talk about water management. Yeah, is that this one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Water management today, water is going to be a very precious tool, as you see in the European countries. Okay, already there's a problem. In India, unless we are careful about it, it's going to land up into a lot of problems. Then of course, transportation ideas. There again, a lot of you have newer ideas which can be experiment. Another area which is catching up in a big way is waste management. Okay, we'll show you a couple of slides which are happening across European cities and the cities in France, in Japan. And yesterday we have a lot of reiteration on this point of safety and security, which Dr. Ashutosh Datta gave us a very excellent lecture yesterday in the evening where you talk about, but one very important point, please remember there's nothing very flabbergasting about being a smart city, but then what is very important for the inhabitants of that smart city, are you safe in that city? Security, personal security is very, very important for us, okay, to look at that. And of course, the Wi-Fi things are being exploited in a big way. Everybody sees that. Yeah, these are the potential things. Yeah. So now we look at the various stakeholders where we are, and you find starting from the local government authorities, industries, private players, R&D units, related organizations, citizens, tourists, system integrators, local government authorities, service providers, and SMEs. There are a lot of SMEs in the country, as well as in a place like Denmark, who all want to come and participate in the Living Lab experiment which is being done. What is very interesting for them, you see, there are some of you who want to become entrepreneurs. Here again, I think here then is a great opportunity, okay, for you to try out a novel idea. SMEs, a lot of SMEs from Denmark want to try out newer ideas, and then this is a great place for them to do marketing also, once they have a proven product, okay? So that is one aspect. Yeah, so now we look at the benefits. We say the Living Lab will serve as a testbed for global innovation tailored to Puducherry, and it is an opportunity to showcase local innovation, okay? And now, thanks to the Danish Research Foundation, we should be able to get a lot of companies coming in from Denmark, including the SMEs, okay? And because the agreement is that, because they funded this entire project, okay? And the other aspect, the labs provide municipality with access to cutting edge technology. Watch that word, that is very important. We are looking at a cutting edge technology, okay? Not something off the shelf, okay? And as one of the first projects of its kind in India, it will provide Puducherry with a unique distinction amongst smart cities. And that is our emblem, the city thing. You will find, moment you enter Puducherry, on any side, you will find that. It's a French architecture, which is being retained. It's a very small place, okay? Very much reminiscent of Singapore. Professor, very much reminiscent of Singapore, people keep saying, comparing, okay? Singapore is far better, of course, but many things along the coast you'll find. Okay, I think that will conclude my thing. Yeah, I should thank Tom Sebastian, Deputy Director of Innovation Center Denmark, who gave us a lot of these inputs, right? Because he was involved in trying to, so I thought I should acknowledge him for all these inputs which we got, okay? And luckily, our director CDOT, and he visited their lab, Living Lab in Denmark, so he would also sort of give us a lot more inputs on this, okay? Fine? Right, so that is what I wanted to tell you about Living Labs, and I'm sure AP can benefit a lot by venturing into fine. Okay, so when we get into smart cities, the big challenge is the society, okay? So, first of them is health, demographic change, and well-being. The second, climate action, resource efficiency in raw materials. Third of them, smart, green, and integrated transport. Secure, clean, and efficient energy. Number 5 would be This is very important. You can't do something in isolation. It has to be necessarily inclusive. And then today we talk about a very innovative type of solution, and it should really help the society, the social societies. And then, of course, we look at food security, and then that catchword, sustainable agriculture, marine and maritime research, bioeconomy, right? So the question we pose whenever we want to get into smart cities is, are nations able to cope with these challenges? You don't embark on a smart city project just like that, but you have to do the necessary homework here before we try to look at that. Then, now, before we go to the city, we as a country look at nation, the entire nation. So we find this very important note here. Cities embed a significant part of the solutions for the nation. So when you do a one-to-one correspondence between what the nation has in terms of all these parameters which you see on the left-hand side, and if you look at on the cities there, you could see where all is the type of comparison which is being. So we make that big statement, the road to global democracy runs through cities. So if you're taking care of your city, automatically the nation is going to get benefited. Okay, now everybody talks about smart, smarter, smart. Everybody is using this word in a very loose way. What exactly do we mean by a smart city? So I've taken some steps to explain that, okay? And then we go to answer this, why cities need to be smarter, okay? So if you look at that, right, we look at on the city, the percentage of world population living in cities, as it is going to translate, let's say, from 1950 to 2040, what is going to happen. This is going to give you an idea of the number of the population which is going to be in the cities. We say by 2030 itself, 70% of all the population would have moved to the cities, okay? And then we find more than half of the world population lives in cities, right? On 2% of the Earth's surface, cities use 75% of the world's resources. And urban areas of the world are expected to absorb all the population growth expected over the next 4 decades. Look at the big challenge the cities encountering is facing. Okay, right? So we have to be seized of these problems before we embark on this. So this is basically sourced from civil infrastructure, which would include, please remember, all this take place within the city. That means water, energy, public transportation, parking spaces, buildings, roads, bridges, to be shared by the increasing population, a direct consequence of the city life, right? Absolutely required, okay? So we find here by 2040, 64.7, okay, that figure could change, okay, but then this is how that escalation is taking place. So it's a real big challenge for us when we are embarking on the smart city mission. Okay, right, here's another interesting statistics. In Europe and US, drivers spend 5 to 10 working days per year stuck in the traffic. No parking place, right? What do you do? So 30% of city traffic consists of people looking for parking. So we find stress and desperation. 60% of the drivers have given up on activity recently due to difficulty of finding parking. You go to Bangalore and you can see a great example of what's happening. Other cities are maybe not aggravated to that extent, okay? But then you would find this is really becoming a challenging problem, okay? Yeah, next one. Huge CO2 emission worldwide due to parking searches. Loss of time efficiency, knowing nonetheless that parking the top 3 largest source of revenue in a city. Okay, so this is one area where, again, the smart city initiative has to really look at that very carefully and then solve that issue in a very, very elegant way. Then we come to water, right? Worldwide, up to 60% of water is lost due to leaky pipes. Even a drop tricklet is the one. Can you see the statistics here? How many gallons? The tune of US $14 billion every year this is costing, okay? Now, when you look at, this was where I told you, especially Europe, 60% of European cities overexploit their groundwater resources. So this is one problem which a lot of countries are going to face. India has not reached that situation, but then unless we are careful accepting some cities which are encountering this problem, but otherwise this is going to really be a big, big challenge to come here. Right, next we look at energy. Power interruption costs European Union business 150 billion euros each year, okay? And in the US, the electricity system, look at that figure, 99.97 reliable, but then, moment it is off, what happens? Still allows for power outages that cost them $150 billion each year. That small outage, see what it results in, okay? Of course, in India, we are used to power cuts in such a big way. The cost of generating a kilowatt hour of electricity is 70 to 170 times the cost of saving a kilowatt hour through efficiency. So smart cities would definitely like to exploit that, okay, angle. And in Europe, 50% of energy consumed today is imported, expected to reach 70% by 2030. See, this is, luckily in India, we are self-sufficient right now, the power with the nuclear and all the other sources coming in, okay? India is that way in a much, much better position. Okay, that gives you an idea there. Right, come to what is a smart city? Very clearly defined, no ambiguity, crystal clear, to the point, to the hilt. Okay, so what it says, smartness is ability to think and respond quickly and effectively, right? And what all you should encompass? Responsive to all that which is going around, fast to analyze, reason, plan, and make decisions, fast to react with desirable effects, right? Then, smart cities, the city with ability to think and respond quickly and effectively, and here capture all events going around with, that's where we'll use with sensors, social networks, and here is another powerful area which we have used students to really practice and exploit called crowdsourcing, crowd sensing. Okay, so a lot of that can be taken up there in projects, and fast to analyze, plan, make decisions. That means you have to do integration. You look at this, real-time big data analytics, complex event processing, rule engines, business intelligence, and fast to react with desirable effects, real-time actuation, apply quick measures, collect feedbacks, and iterate. So this, in a ensemble, wholesome, holistic way, would encompass the smart city requirements. Yeah. So when we look at it, how do we go about this? You see, ultimately now we define, so what would be a process by which we could achieve all that? So that is where we are looking at. We are looking at city data sources. What all do we have? We have social networks, mobile applications, you people exploit that so much, the World Wide Web, legacy devices, IoT devices. And then from there, we turn to the smart city platform, which is basically involved in data collection, analysis, knowledge extraction, planning and action, and then go to citizen-centric services. So we would have to encompass all these requirements, and with that in mind, we now look at, when we want to venture to do this, what are all the challenges, the major challenges. I've listed about 5 of them, okay? So if you can address them, you have solved a lot of very wonderful problems. The first of them is very much important for a country like India, which is highly heterogeneous, our states, so many languages, so many dialects, so many different people, right? Okay, and that is a big challenge, but then we are still able to do a lot of very, very wonderful, interesting projects, okay? Heterogeneity, and then yesterday a lot of people have talked about this called the interoperability, and that is how to handle the numerous types of devices, protocol standards, different things. And here we want all of you to get into the open source. I'll be talking about Eclipse, okay? Please see that you try to get into the open source platform as far as, okay? And it tells you of the great opportunities. A lot of people we are losing to IT industries, software industries, but then please stay back. Your core sectors have a lot of opportunities, starting with CDOT, for instance. A lot of wonderful opportunities are there in this field. Smart cities, smarter cities are going to have a lot of employment opportunities coming up, okay, the background. So if you look at it, you can see the verticals which you have, the home building, manufacturing, vehicle transport, healthcare, energy, cities, wearables, farming, agri-food here. And then you could look at all the type of companies which are involved in this. Yesterday we had Ashutosh Datta from IEEE talking to us from the IEEE forum. All of them are getting standardized. Any product which you put on the smarter city has to necessarily get subjected to those type of requirements. Okay. And then, because what is the big problem which we face here? They're all in vertical silos. This is not acceptable to us. So we would now try to adapt this for our requirement like this. So today, the domain-centric vertical solution, smart home, what all it features, right? Today in the smart city, you have that monitoring and controlling, saving energy, interacting, applying smart health as all these requirements. Then you have smart transport looking at this, smart city, okay? As you see, managing, parking, all this which we have been talking about. Another important thing, especially we have probably doctor from Delhi coming in, and the air quality is something which is very important, okay? Delhi is compounded with that problem in such a big way, okay? And then smart shopping is one more thing. So from here, we now translate that to horizontal smart solutions, which is something which we want, right? Not those vertical silos, okay, which are always very difficult to combat with and look at that. So if you look at that, you could see now when you have to encompass and when you have to sort of implement this, please remember this is a new concept which we want all of you. Please don't software people stick only to software. When you have hardware people, we always want a combination of hardware, software, co-design. That is very important when we have to implement these type of designs. Okay, so that is what those platforms are trying to address. And then now comes, this is another very important parameter, right? Especially for a smart city program, which is basically, I've used this wonderful word called scalability. Today we have 3,000 people. Suddenly you find it is getting translated to 8,000 people. Can your city manage that? Can your system manage that? Okay, right? Not only in case of sustainability, this scalability is basically, always say, it's not fashionable to get into smart cities, right? There's a dire need, but then what is very important with smart cities is it has to be highly reliable. It cannot say, I'll work for 2 days and shut off for 3 days. No way. So the dependability and rapid prototyping, yet dependable applications, absolutely required in that context. Okay, and how do we do that? Right? What is the big problem for us? You're dealing with the real world. It's full of problems, full of challenges. Right, okay. And that is where you will have to be very careful in whatever you do, because you looked at the correctness, and here I told you, very important which we give, important parameter is the safety of the citizen, okay? Real-time verification, reliability, security, all that is what, yesterday again, They have talked a lot about it. And then need of local high-end computing, okay, and all that which is coming in. Then the last one will be pertaining to privacy, security, and safety, simple, efficient, and trustable ones, not to make it complicated. Okay? So, what we say is, one of the biggest threats yesterday we have seen in Professor Ashutosh Datta's lecture was the very vulnerable aspect of smart city is emanating from the IoT sensor. It is very easily hackable, right? So that threat, massive adoption of IoT by citizens relies on confidence in terms of security and privacy. If you're compromised there, you will get inside, and we have the standards man here again, so they will tell you where it is on this. And systems must be secured by design. IoT nodes are accessible to, that's where we are trying to reiterate this point. Trustworthy computing does not exist until you have, very important, it's not only software, the hardware. Trustworthy hardware to be built on it, on which it is built. Absolutely required. Okay? Otherwise, it's going to be compromised. Okay, fine. Now we get into one of the very wonderful adoption which has been, go to Google and type this word SensiNact, right? And you'll find all this emanating from that wonderful lab in Grenoble called LETA. Okay, that's the great lab. So now, my previous speakers already have told you a lot of things about smart cities, right? They've exhausted. So I'm basically trying to tell you a platform. There are a lot of researchers here. There's a very fine lab. We want you to embark. Grenoble lab is now recognized as the second most important laboratory in the world. Okay? And they're doing a lot of projects for smart cities in the Europe and Japan. A couple of them is what I would like to interact, especially from the LETA labs. Okay? And you find this platform, SensiNact, is a beautiful IoT platform for smarter cities. Okay? Right? And if you look at it very carefully, how this whole thing has been laid out, heterogeneous IoT devices platform, various protocols and platforms, homogeneous access to real-time data, on-demand, periodically event-based, and various northbound protocols here, rapid dependability. And if you look at the way you take it, look at that. The whole thing is on an Eclipse platform. So people keep asking, what do I acquire in the college? Get into areas like that. And the companies will grab you. That's the word I'll use. Right? Okay? There are a lot of opportunities coming up for placements. Not necessarily to work in software houses like Infosys or TCS. Okay? These type of services-based companies. There are plenty of opportunities. And with the labs opening up here in this university, it's a great opportunity for you to embark on. Okay? You go to IIT, they will never make this mistake of entering a services company, just like that. Okay? But we find a lot of our students under pressure getting in. But here are great opportunities with these companies which are listed here. Okay? The SensiNact platform, okay, which is very nearly laid out here. Yeah. So a little bit, it's a general definition. Smart cities use ICT to engage citizens to deliver city services, enhance urban systems. This is that quadrant everybody talks about, okay? So I won't take much of your time on this. Yeah, so you would find here the trends leading, the technology trends, especially how they are exploiting big data and data analytics. All this are very, very important, okay? There's so much of that coming in. Yeah, please remember, without society, the city is useless, right? The societies have a very big role. And if you're not able to take care of the social trends, right? The social media and all that, which is now the smart city, we want to have it as a green smart city. Everybody talks about it. Okay, greening is a big requirement, especially from, but then look at this, sustainability is a mindset. Sustainability is the key word which is getting elaborated here in this form. And here I've taken a quote from McKinsey, okay? What it says is, when you get to a critical mass, the data on the benefits of a smart city is so compelling. A 50% reduction over a decade in energy consumption, 20% decrease in traffic, an 80% improvement in water usage, 20% reduction in crime rates is what you get as ROI from a smart city. This is where we got this from McKinsey here, and this is something where you get a wonderful benefit coming in here, okay? And of course, these are the essential components, and broadband is something we are once again wanting to embark with CDOT in a big way at Puducherry because of the BBR type of connections they have. And then, yeah, this is the one. The smart city has to necessarily have the sustainability, and then we say the resilience, okay? You have different sort of parameters coming into the city in terms of population, in terms of water requirement, in terms of energy requirement. Can the city sustain that? So one of the real catchwords for getting the smart city in position is, if it's not going to be sustainable, you cannot have, however fashionable that smart city is, it cannot survive. There's a very big requirement here. Yeah. So with this background now, since INAC had gone about implementing a few smart cities in Europe, a couple of those slides is what I want to share with you, okay? The European footprint, yeah. So we could look at it, and a few cities are from Japan. Grenoble is where this lab is there located, northern part, very near the Alps. It's a wonderful place, and mind you, a lot of you students are planning to go to the US. Please go to Grenoble. It's got fantastic research opportunities. Best in the world, okay? Number 2 right now, maybe getting to number 1. It's amazing. We had a couple of our students visiting that place. A couple of them who finished their PhDs came back and they say, Professor, yes, the weather, yes, but then you're inside a lab where everything is made as cozy as possible, but great opportunities. Coming up, then we have another place called Santander. This is in Japan, Genoa, Berlin, and here we have Aarhus is in Denmark. The University of Aarhus is very famous in Denmark, okay, where we have Professor Ramji Prasad from that place, okay. And now we talk about this great lab I told you. LETI is the research lab which is located in Grenoble, okay, who are exploiting this, okay. So go to Google and look at that very carefully. And this is the cloud project which they are looking at. The cloud of things for empowering the citizens' cloud in smart cities, okay. This is how that whole project is going about here, which they have implemented, okay, with these particular companies. And now, yesterday, when our director, CDOT, was telling us the implementation, you could see cloud model for IoT services, how they are being able to do it, city infrastructure as a service, city platform as a service, city application software as a service. All of you, see, this is where he was telling us yesterday, Ashutosh Datta, about virtualization, how that can penetrate here, the middleware services and the service mashup here. And you could see end users, innovators, startups, service providers, SMEs, all looking at these type of platforms. Right? Okay? And these are some of the intercontinental trial. I was telling you, CENCI-NAC is not looked at only from a French perspective, but they're across the globe where they're using it for service development tool, data mashup, city dashboard, intercontinental, all this type of a thing. At Santander, 10,000 physical devices. Genoa has this, Mitaka has that. So they are able to really put this across, okay, to almost 500,000 virtual devices, all of them participating in this sensory requirements. So with that, what is it that you get? You get very big data coming from a high number of sources, cloud data diversity and volume. So we have 500,000 virtual sensors, sensor data stream, and what is it that they're producing? 20 GB data per day. All our computer science researchers, you have so much of data to produce at least 400 PhDs if you collect all that. As ISRO keeps telling us, from the remote sensing platform, the data they collected, they can produce 1,200 PhDs. There's so many things to be looked at, okay? A great opportunity. Okay, so these are all physical, human, all that which they use. Okay, they're able to use human as a sensor also. That's interesting, okay? Yeah, so what is it that we have now? Cloud, big data, edge computing, all that you name, okay? For urban challenges with various criticalities involving energy, water, emergency, all that. So you could see how the platform is laid out. Programmable city data platforms including IoT and other data sources. Edge computing for adaptive processing, distributed intelligence management, cloud computing analysis, virtualization, aggregated big data. So you could see where great opportunities are there for US for employment. Tremendous opportunities, right? And this is where all of them can get fitted in. Cities are becoming smart and nodes of a global network, right? So what is it that we have? ICT is the key technology enabler. So what are the challenges? From zero power sensors and actuators to horizontal virtual skin platforms interacting with the real urban world with the cloud. So with the cloud, you are able to implement that, okay? And through smart and secure 5G connectivity infrastructures. Yesterday, Ashutosh has reiterated and those points very carefully here. So I think I'm on my last slide with this. So we say 5G, a driver for industrial and city changes. Okay? So this is sourced from here, and you could say the automotive, factories of the future, energy requirements, e-health, media and entertainment, all that being encompassed under the 5G sector to enable this. Okay? So that is my last slide. And if you do the green initiative, you could see how a smart city looks like. So I'd like to end my lecture on that note and tell you, look, it's a great, great journey to get into smart city. Thank you for the opportunity.